What's going on, all, and welcome to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds. How's everybody doing this week?
Good.
So great.
All right.
Good, man. Great to be back already with more Obi Wan, man. I mean, geez, we literally just finished a few days ago, and we're back with another treat. Fortunately, Disney didn't bless us with Friday, the midnight showing, but
Thank God it was Wednesday.
it was. Thank God it was Wednesday.
God
No
bless
midnight,
him.
but it worked.
God bless him.
You know, I actually didn't stay up. I had a migraine, so I actually watched it at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So no 3 a.m. I gave him 3 hours. I gave him a couple hours. Enough for that medicine to kick in for my migraine. But before we dive in this episode, which we finally got what we wanted, let's let DP let you guys know where to find us at and all our platforms.
Make sure that you guys are going to nerdcyclopedia.com, people, where there you will get your links to all your favorite social media posts where we can actually, confer with you and, interact on social media. At Nerdcyclopedia, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and also Instagram. Make sure that if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you're hitting that notification and then also that subscribe button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, make sure that you are hitting us up and leaving us some feedback. Also, joining our Facebook group, Carbonite Bounty BS, the Star Wars group, where you see your favorite memes. We comment on Star Wars, of course. It's Obi Wan, story and everything. Some great stuff. And also make sure that if you're following us on podcasts, listening to us on your radio and also on your your phone. We are on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you hear your favorite podcast, we are on there. And also leave us some feedback to nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com, where we, get all your, your input on what you think about us and talk about this Star Wars stuff.
NCFS.
NCFS, okay. I'm on a different screen right now. Hey, NCFS, make sure that you guys are. Oh yeah, we got the boys coming out soon, so it's a nice thing that that we got the NCFS thing coming on. So we got the boys coming up tomorrow. I think
it's on the drums.
Hey, it's some good stuff. So the boys is coming out. I think they're smacking us with like 3 episodes. So we'll see how we're going to get into that. But make sure that you are hitting us up and subscribing to us on this channel. We will be talking about the boys.
Well said, guys. And I mean, yeah, another episode, and we really get into the meat and potatoes kind of so much, so much has happened, and this answered for me, just initial reaction, a lot of questions as to what is going on in the galaxy, how's the Empire being, viewed, and really, how they're starting to put the grip on the Outer Rim and some of these other planets that we've never seen before. So, we'll just start. We'll go counterclockwise. Obi-Wan, how did you feel so far getting into this one?
Loved this episode. I did think that I wasn't anticipating a actual full-on Vader Kenobi confrontation. Just like spoiler if you haven't watched it, but if you're listening to us, you already watched it. But I felt like maybe they could have waited a little bit, but I love that they brought it in here. I love the story development. I also liked Obi-Wan confronted by stormtroopers, right? Calm, cool, collected, didn't freak out, did his thing. In fact, you saw a little bit of the General Kenobi come out with the, taking out 4 stormtroopers with very little effort. So everything in this episode, I liked the pacing of it. Little more connection between him and Leia. I think she's seeing him as a little more of a mentor now and wanting to kind of dig into what does he know? What does he know about where I come from? I dug that this conversation they had on that shuttle when they were riding to, the spaceport. Zach Braff, come on, anything with Zach Braff, you gotta legitimize the entire 47 minutes because he wanted to be in it. Didn't make it out of the episode, but that's all right. And just I love the story and the depth of the characters, the way they're introducing different things. Reva, definitely want to see her do something, like really take over and knock out the other Inquisitors. Does she become Grand Inquisitor? Does she really become Vader's right hand? I mean, that's a great piece that I'm looking forward to seeing.
What about you, Hitch?
To me, this episode is all about Darth Vader, and I think that I'm very excited that it is, because when I really like shows, and when I think shows are really at their peak, they're going through plot like this because they have a lot of really good ideas, and I think we're seeing that on display here, because what happens with, they go to Darth Vader so fast into this episode. And I know I was expecting a cameo. Like, I thought we were going to get something like at the end of the second episode of Obi-Wan into the third episode of Obi-Wan, where maybe we'd see the suit getting put together. But no, they give us everything. We got the full Monty. We got a lightsaber exposure from Darth Vader in this episode. And not just that, we see the total ruthlessness on display. Like, I don't think we've really ever seen anywhere else in the Star Wars universe. I mean, Darth Vader, sure, he's very ruthless, but he's being ruthless to people that we don't really want. We want people to be ruthless to them, right? That's what we want. So, to me, this is really the first time we really see Anakin come in, and we are being told directly by the context that we are not supposed to like what he's doing at all. Like, there's nothing heroic about this. There's no heroic revenge to this. It's just him coming in and killing people that have no business being killed because he knows it will drive Obi Wan Kenobi insane, and that is friggin' ruthless. So that to me was the story of this episode. Like Ken said, Zach Braff was a delight as Frick, who he made a very interesting character. Right, he didn't know exactly what's going on. It not a surprise that the mole people are running the mining guild, I guess.
And they betrayed Kenobi too. So
right,
yeah,
right. So and another thing. Okay, so one other thing I want to mention before I stop, hogging the time here, is I really like the way this series is portraying passive Force abilities. I think that we find Anakin searching for Obi-Wan in the Force is being portrayed here very well. I think that was very clear what they were doing. It was Anakin as he projects himself in the Force, standing there staring at him. And so Obi-Wan knew not to use the Force at all. And that's why he's having such a hard time here. He's not using the Force because he knows as soon as he does, he's going to attract the attention of Anakin Skywalker, who is now scouring, like staring out into space and looking for him. This insanely familiar, flavor or whatever they want to call it. I don't know. I get smell or scent, whatever. So very excellent portrayal of that, and a really great portrayal of how Leia's innate Force sensitivity causes her to be able to see people's true intentions and also influence them a little bit. It seems like she's passively, when she argues for something, people tend to agree with her, which could be a little bit of a little nudge. So I really, really like this show a lot, man. It's great. Sorry, I know that was long.
So when did Obi-Wan exactly find out about Vader? So it's been 10 years. When at what point do we know when he actually found out Vader existed? Not Anakin. He thinks Anakin's dead and everything. When did he find out Vader existed?
I think we saw it.
Reva was the first person to tell him ever. That's why he was shocked.
Yeah, I think we saw it right in the end of the second episode, and in this one, I think that's when he was like,
and then that's where that's where he had that moment to where Steel City said he broke his connection from shielding the Force, and Anakin woke up because he sensed him. So that was that whole foreshadowing that he was so startled, he broke character, that his Force, somehow kind of we saw in the last trilogy, he kind of had that Force bond with him, and that's where he woke up and realized that Kenobi is out there. I need to get him. So yeah, that was it.
So Darth Vader. So it's been 10 years. Okay, so Darth Vader all this time. So Darth Vader existed all this time, throughout the 10-year period, right? So what is so? Is he not known throughout the galaxy? Is his presence just not if Obi-Wan is just now finding out about Vader right now, what has been Vader's existence or know, his presence. How's his presence been like through like through the outer rim, through like throughout the galaxy and everything? How does all that play a part? Why is Obi-Wan just knowing about Vader right now?
Well, if you think about it, so Vader's like the vice president of the Empire. And remember, Palpatine doesn't want Vader getting credit for stuff. So it's not like Vader is getting a lot of publicity. It's the Empire, the glory of the Empire, the Emperor. And you remember, we know canonically communication in between the systems is restricted. You know, canonically travel within the systems is restricted. And these are all part of what the Empire is doing to restrict the flow of information. Now, add to that two things. One, Obi-Wan's in the space equivalent of Mexico. If you think of the Empire as the United States, right? So he's not exactly in the Empire. I mean, he knows there is an Empire and they have a lot of cachet, and it's not like you're going to mess with Imperial agents there. But at the same time, it's not the Empire. So he's outside their jurisdiction at this point. The other thing is, he's living like the Unabomber here.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not exactly
right. Okay.
So it's not just that he's unplugged from like his version of the internet, right?
Okay.
Like, it's not just that he's unplugged from the information; he's just willfully staying away from it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Vader's basically not at that point where he's like his name is not reverberating like anywhere that Obi-Wan goes. He's not here. Vader.
Right.
Nothing like that.
It seemed also that Vader was pretty much still on Mustafar, not really getting out anywhere. So maybe his connection to the Empire isn't as strong as it is when we get introduced to him for the first time in A New Hope. So I kind of got that impression, like Mustafar, that temple he was in, that was like his fortress of solitude. He just kind of chilled there with the Bacta tank, and he gave orders, but he didn't do a whole lot of traveling. Maybe that's why when he went to this planet, he kind of went buck nutty, right? Just started killing people.
It goes to your point where he hasn't been doing this for a while, so maybe his saber skills are weak. But it also plays into what is the timeline of the comics that we just read, sort of like tying into that, because he was doing some pretty ruthless stuff in the comics, and this episode was reminding me a lot of that.
Because the stormtroopers were right with him, right? He always had a garrison of troopers that came up right behind him. They were ready, and that was the same thing in the comic. It was the same sort of those were his people.
So I'm digging everything I'm seeing, and it's just feeling like these episodes are a big movie divided into parts. So I'm liking the way that they title them, not episodes, they're like parts. So if you want to get the real feel of like a TV show, I don't think this is it. But that's good. That's a good thing, because I'm feeling like Darth Vader. That's like movie screen type stuff and everything. Like that's a big presence. And as you guys were talking about, to have him settle in this third part, and to have such a big presence in it, I mean, that's a big thing. And I was actually feeling like, okay, out of all the Star Wars stuff from Mandalorian, Bad Batch, Boba Fett, everything Ahsoka stuff, I've seen so far, this felt the most Star Wars to me. When seeing those two, like, going at it with the lightsabers and everything. We haven't seen that since like really Ahsoka's battle with that one and I don't think she had a lightsaber, did she?
No, she had a Beskar.
Yeah. So we haven't really seen any lightsaber battles between two, Force users and everything, So this felt like the most Star Warsy out of all the Star Wars stuff that they put on Disney Plus so far. And I'm truly just like, I'm in it. I'm in it. Just seeing Darth Vader, just like, J.E.J., he coming. I was figuring out, how is they going to do? Okay, Anakin's going to be in the suit, and then they're going to have, James Earl Jones. As soon as I heard his voice, I was like, yeah.
They couldn't do it any other way. And it really made, I was so satisfied with that whole entrance, the banter between the two of them. You should have destroyed me when you had the chance. The taunting, because that's what it was all about. That's like battle with honor. You got to taunt the guy. You got to taunt your enemy a little bit. It can't be all just, sword fighting. Right. And, like I said, it was like a little bit, they were rusty. Vader wasn't really coming in with the moves that they originally did in Revenge of the Sith. I mean, that the battle between Kenobi and Skywalker at the end of Revenge of the Sith was probably the pinnacle of lightsaber duels that I've ever seen in any Star Wars anything. And now we have the same two people, not that far away, but it's a totally different feel. It's a totally different vibe.
Right.
More like
you gotta practice. You gotta practice. You need to get back into like fighting. Right.
But they knew that there was some energy between. There was a relationship there, so there wasn't all. And he basically let him go at the end, right?
Yeah.
Vader backed away. Vader was like, "Okay, we'll meet again." I mean, he walked away from it.
I don't think Vader, and you kind of alluded into that. Vader wasn't going to defeat him that way. Vader wants a fight. He is not. I mean, he picked him up with the Force. There was no restraint from Obi Wan. He literally basically said, "I'm burning your ass up like you burned me." Like, that was hilarious. That was so hilarious. He's like, "You remember? How does this feel?" I'm like, "Man, this is ruthless."
He was just "You like apples?"
Yeah, and he throws him, out there. But the
dragging him
reluctance,
into the fire.
That made him. I think that made him more aggressive. The fact that Obi-Wan wouldn't fight back. He wants a battle. He doesn't want to just kill him necessarily. He wants the revenge, to score the revenge, and to prove to the Emperor, as Hitch said, this is still a trial. He wants to prove to the Emperor that he is the strongest and he can take down Kenobi, the quote unquote last Jedi alive. So, or last senior member of the Jedi Council, I'll say. I'm sure there's other councils that they probably ran into and he's dispatched, but yeah, I mean, this is a big thing for him, and we alluded to this before. This is 10 years on. This is an early mock of Vader. I mean, look how powerful he is. And as we read in the comics, DP, as you'll learn, his suit becomes bigger and it makes him more restricted, so he can't do as much with the Force. So when we get to the original trilogy, that's why he's kind of so static and robotic. Not only is his age, but the Emperor has to depower him so much because literally the guy can dispatch him. I mean, look what he's doing. He picks up a Jedi who's a strong Jedi of the Force. He's breaking people's. I mean, the Force choke is gone. I guess it's just like the next nap now. That's his new thing. Like
he's like when he just doesn't have the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is for jumping out your window. That's what you get. I really appreciate them. I did appreciate the ruthlessness though. Like, man, well, you cannot root for Anakin now. You can't.
Nah,
you can't. He's twisted and evil. More machine now than man.
Perfect. That's exactly how I like my Vader.
I like twisted and evil. More machines than man.
Bring it on.
20% man, 80% machine. That's how I like my Vaders,
That's a nice T-shirt. That'd be a pretty sweet T-shirt idea.
More machine now than man.
Yeah.
Or that's how I like my Vader.
I like that. Yeah, both.
That's how I like my Vader.
That's how I like my Vader.
Not the pretty boy Vader we got in episode 3 with the yellow eyes.
No, nothing like that.
You mean the yellow eyes? What was that? The Mike Jackson Thriller Easter egg?
How are we feeling about Leia? I'm liking her like more and more. And I don't see what the beef is. It's not so much as beef, but I just hear like rumblings. I listen to other podcasts too and everything. And I guess the critique is that they're doing just Grogu all over again, like from the Mandalorian and everything. But considering Grogu didn't talk or speak or anything like that, like the parent and the child stuff the dynamic we have with Obi-Wan and Leia gives a whole lot more than what we get with Grogu. Grogu represents cuteness and everything. Leia, she gives a lot more that's back and forth, and like her intelligence is just like, and her precautions is just like, far superior and stuff. I mean, she's just a sight to behold when she gets like when I love the dynamic when they were in the Jeep or in the the carrier thing. And she had to come up with like a story, and Obi-Wan had to vie with her back and forth and everything, and they both came up with like a satisfying story to get out of that to get out of those questions. I love that dynamic. I thought it was decent.
Yeah, she went up against stormtroopers, Imperial stormtroopers, and won basically. She's a future senator. She's a future member of the Imperial Senate. I mean, you definitely see the character build there. They did a really good job with the casting, her look, everything about her, the way she delivers the lines. I think she's a great asset to this entire, this entire story.
I think if you don't like this portrayal of Princess Leia, weep.
Yeah.
Weep bitter tears. I don't care because it's.
I don't understand it. I really don't.
The thing she's portraying is not cute. It's like you're saying. It's intelligence, and she's not that cute. She's not cute. She's not helpless. She's not. That's something that I think is intrinsic to the Leia character, and it obviously was like the thing about her that set her apart from other female characters in shows like this is she took charge of the rescue like as soon as she could in Star Wars, right? I got a plan. I'm jump in here. Let's go. Like that's intrinsic to her character.
The garbage chute.
She does it to Obi Wan. She's like, this is the plan. Let's go. Let's move. And I think that continuity and that we talk about the spirit of 77 and really it's just what is core, what is Star Wars, right? Like what is that? What is on the central pillar of Star Wars? And I think that, not only is this portrayal of Leia like affecting as far as a good portrayal of this character and makes sense of this character, but it's endearing. I really want to see more of what they do with this character. I want to see more of it, even if like this arc ends next episode and she's back with Bail and we move on. I would watch a series centered on this character. So if this was some sort of backdoor pilot pitch, good job.
Yeah.
When I would watch that.
It would just be called Organa.
It would work.
Sign me up.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect though. Yeah, you've laid this out though. People like complaining about it. We have to knit the fabric on why she's so dependent on Obi-Wan when we get to 4. So this makes sense. He's building the trust up. It kind of like, obviously she knows now, she's intelligent enough to know Bell is her adopted father, but there's still a clash between, he's not really much of a father because he's so intrinsic in being a senator and everything going on with the Empire. So she has this innate connection with Obi-Wan that you already see bonded almost like a daughter-father type of things. I mean, for all we know, this is probably the first time she's been off-world and into things, So there's that connection that she has to him, as we see why she calls for Obi-Wan later on in life. You're my only hope. I mean, that's her phone call. She's in jail. That's her first phone call. So I like how they're building that dynamic of her being so dependent on the Obi-Wan early on.
And even with that conversation that she has in the hologram, General Kenobi, you served my father in the Clone Wars. So that's a whole, there's a whole bunch of meanings there, because served my father. Well, basically Kenobi did. I mean, Anakin and Kenobi served each other. So there was a lot, there was a lot of relationship there. So maybe she knew at that point? Did Kenobi allude to anything at some point during their encounters together? Did he say, hey, you know what? I know who your real father is? Because she seems to think he knows who her mother is.
Right.
So if I know that, I also think that you know who my father is too, because there's a loss of memory there too. So it's a lot of a lot of weird messages going on right now.
Is there any reason why Vader's not sensing Leia anywhere?
It's a weird one. I mean, he doesn't necessarily know she had twins. They kind of tried to hide that from him. He knows of the boy, but he doesn't know of the girl. And they've done a decent job about it. But the kind of Reva knowing that was Organa's daughter, and it kind of muddied it a little bit. But I think they're trying to play him to be oh, she only had one,
and that was a neat conversation between the two of them, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was.
Like Leia didn't suspect anything because, like we were talking about, she's kind of like in tune to stuff and kind of sees through people. She didn't know. She didn't know that this woman now was like a baddie.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, they sort of like Chekhov's phrasing or whatever. She said, because she had that conversation with Obi-Wan earlier about bad people or good people or whatever, something that Obi-Wan and her had a conversation about, and I think Obi-Wan was like, everybody isn't a good person. You can't trust everybody or something to that effect or whatever.
Yeah.
So that sort of played into, what we see there at the end and everything, her naivety, as far as like, trusting folks, and how she's young still, as smart as she is and as intelligent, as articulate as she is, she's still young and still learning, has still not experienced stuff. She's trusting of pretty much everybody, until somebody tells her otherwise.
That's a trait, and he said that's a trait of her mother, which he knew. So that's very, very foreshadowing.
And Padme was probably the most unassuming person. Like, she trusted everybody. She had no, I mean, technically, would she really have any business being a politician, as open-minded as she was and thinking everybody was
right
at face value? I mean,
you know what? It brings to mind a certain other Nabonese politician who was just a little bit crafty and perhaps benefited from there being
a certain chancellor,
a certain future chancellor who would benefit from the naivete of this queen, this young queen, the youngest queen out of all. I mean,
a young queen.
Who set this up? And is Palpatine pulling the strings that hard behind the scenes to meddle in his own domestic politics when he's on the galactic stage? I mean, this is a guy that has crossed as many T's as he can cross. And he's got Anakin out here running him down his last I thought, because he didn't, he couldn't take care of Obi Wan Kenobi because he couldn't, jump over him for some reason.
I've got the high ground.
I'll jump to the left. Wait, don't. No. This guy's got no legs because he couldn't figure out left or right.
Couldn't double tap B. That's all it was. No double jump.
He couldn't X double tap B. I don't know.
No double jump, man. That's a.
I mean, he jumps out of planes without parachutes, and he can't jump.
He does he? Yeah. Oh man.
I feel like he should be at least able to dunk in that scenario, right? I mean, if he's using the force, anyway, that's enough. Yeah. That was a different.
DP, I know you talked about and you alluded to hating the Empire. I've said this on many a times. I mean, this is the failure of the Coruscant Council. I mean, how about the revelation we get from Obi-Wan? Literally, they're plucking kids from their families. He doesn't even know who his brother is. Like, when I heard that, I didn't know that. I was
exactly. I'm sitting up here like, okay, the domestic politics, that come with being a Jedi and being, Empire is relatively the same, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They took kids from their family and brainwashed them.
But it's so different. It's so different because the reason they do that is because you can't leave force sensitives with their families because
it's the same.
You still take it up from their family.
Powers. You can't do it and let them develop powers because if they have too much of an attachment, and developing the power will lead them to use it selfishly. It's just the bottom line. So the reason the Jedi are the way they are is because of trial and error over, 1,000 generations or so. Whatever.
I think the kids that got plucked by the Empire made out pretty good. I mean, if you got plucked for the Jedi, you got a robe, and that's about it. If the Empire took you, you got a nice shiny uniform, you got a blaster. I mean, you got to be on in space, flying around, maybe a TIE fighter.
Jedi going hungry, Ken.
Not much, Ken. Because as soon as they get tapped with a blaster, they're down for the count. And we see it in this episode. They're down. Just, the reputation of stormtroopers is just pretty low.
They're getting another short end of the stick here. And I remember when I saw the big, A New Hope. When they boarded that blockade runner, we didn't know what was going on at first. I mean, admit it. You didn't know were these armored soldiers bad guys or good guys? I mean, you didn't know. But these stormtroopers, they took over this blockade runner perfectly. I mean, very few of them got knocked down. To me, they looked like really great fighters. It's now we have to portray the bad guys as sort of fumbling idiots because that's just the way we are.
You're also dealing with a different type of stormtrooper. These guys are actively engaged now.
Right.
So
they're on not then.
Now it's not like on the Death Star. Which if you're a ground fighting troop, right? If you're a Marine, which is pretty much what a stormtrooper is, and they put you on in the Pentagon, like that's a pretty cushy assignment. So those guys probably aren't exactly at 100% readiness when all of a sudden some dude pops up. You know what I mean? Starts running around.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the more working active duty as you are, I mean, it's basically being out in the field versus being, working from home or whatever. If you're out there, just doing the work and everything, you're gonna get those muscle memories and much more experience and everything versus being out there. You got the same being inside, you got the same training, but you're not actively doing anything, as much.
And it does stand to reason that like the darker your uniform, the better fighter you are. So the Death Troopers and the Dark Troopers kick ass. The white guys are like fodder, basically. So the darker,
like red shirts galore.
Right. The darker and the more shiny or like black your armor is, the better off you are.
Even the clone troopers like, well, you didn't die, you get to paint something. You know what I mean? And then
I mean, the Death Troopers we saw in Rogue One, I mean, those guys sign me up. Like that's who I want to be because
how do you, as a stormtrooper, how do you get to that level? We need a background stormtrooper series or something.
Well, that's more like I said that they should have did that with Finn when they really developed. Yeah. When they really were developing, and then that goes into. So this is Hitch alluded to. This is the troopers that would be part of the Han Solo era. So these are people that were just enlisting basically into the army. They're not force sensitives. They're just enlisting into the army. As we found out later in the story, as we get to the sequel trilogy, that's literally force sensitives being pushed into the infantry, as we will at that point. So these are more just general people that are obedient to the Empire and basically enlisting into the military at this point.
Like Luke wants to be, and what Biggs Darklighter is, part of the Naval Academy. He wants to be a TIE fighter pilot, but so a little more higher echelon, not just a normal guy that would walk into the Marine Recruiting Center. These guys want to be a little bit more. Yeah,
I mean they bought into it. That one guy. What was his name? Zach Braff. Freck. Okay. So Freck. Okay. So so he's all nice and friendly, to our heroes and everything. But as soon as he gets to like the stop point and everything, he just said, he picked up a couple strays and everything, and he wants to turn them in or whatever. He doesn't really know it. Yeah, he's a mole. Definitely.
Always
I'm sitting there for I just hate the Empire, man. They've indoctrinated to all these people to believe in everything that the lies and the hate and everything that they talked about, to the point where people are just afraid, you're afraid to they'll take their jobs and everything, take their freedom, just long as they're actually able to live and just go about and will betray anybody, just so that they can survive in this environment, which is totally understandable. And then you got those who are putting on their putting their lives on the line, who we see the what's her name that helped Obi-Wan,
the Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian. We
where did she go?
Yeah,
does anybody know where did she run to? She's not dead, right?
No. Yeah, well, she saved Obi-Wan.
Yeah, she saved Obi-Wan, but he asked her, why are you putting your life on the line and everything? What are you doing and everything? And then
no force sensitivity. She just found him on the hillside.
Yep, just found him.
There's a Jedi barbecue going.
Oh, that's crazy.
How about more Game of Thrones?
Jedi barbecue.
How about they had to get their Hayden Christensen, line in with where he was in the he saw the ghost, and he had his hood on and everything. I thought that was pretty decent though.
That's great.
You had to at least get he had to get some FaceTime in there.
Give it. He deserves it. He really does. He deserves it. I like getting to see what he's doing with the character at this age. And
he's been outcast for how long has he been outcast? For 15 years?
been a long time. I mean, since Jumper. I mean, ever since then they just said, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like,
No, I mean, Star Wars, he's been out for about 10 to 15 years.
well, it's been. I mean, he was not treated. I mean, the fandom as a whole for some reason can be jerky for some reason. They're opinionated and they put a lot of eggs in the basket and they say some unkind things. I mean, my opinion of his performance was that it was good, but I thought the problems with the prequel trilogy were story and writing based, right? Like we've talked about that over and over.
Yeah, but they didn't put George Lucas under the.
Well, what are you gonna do to George? Just buy you off, and you're like, yeah, 5 stars. Anyway, it doesn't matter if he wants that 5-star review. He'd find a way to get that done. I think. No, just kidding about that.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
But I want to see this guy in his prime, and we talk about age, but it's really practice because Vader's only like 35. I mean, he'd still be an NFL quarterback. Really, we'd be looking at a couple of years from his decline here. So it's not like he's going to run out of time. I mean, even Obi-Wan's probably only, if we assume he's about 25 in Phantom Menace, this is probably another 25 years from that. He's 50. I mean, that's not 90. He's not 100 years old. Shouldn't be walking around.
And he's a Jedi. He's a Jedi too. He's a magic user. So
I mean, Yoda was walking around and doing all that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that's always been interesting to me, and is why was Obi-Wan so decrepit at such a normal age, you would think, in the galaxy far, far away. And, once they set that pilot, I think maybe they're starting to answer that, right? Maybe Vader's like, I'm going to take you. Maybe it's like Vader's version of that old joke where a guy walks up to a farmer and he sees a pig with 3 legs and he says to the farmer, "Hey, what's the deal with this pig?" And the farmer says, "Oh, this pig. There's a fire in my house, and this pig rescued me, rescued my family, rescued us all. Smelled the smoke, came in and woke us up." And the guy said, "That's amazing. Is that how he lost his leg?" And the farmer says, "Well, hell no. You don't need a pig that special all at once."
You really think you're gonna boil the entire relationship between Anakin Skywalker and Obi Wan Kenobi down to a 3-legged pig, a farmer, and a fire? That's a reach.
Hey, I mean, it's.
I mean,
Anakin is the farmer.
I thought, what, Kenobi is the missing leg or what?
Kenobi's the pig, so he wants to enjoy it.
He's already roasting him up a little bit. He's already got him charred a little bit.
He got one limb, but
just a little bit of shoulder. That's all.
Anyone know what the material was that Vader set fire to? Like, what was that?
I thought it was spice or something because he kind of like lit it.
They look like I watched a couple.
I thought it was glass. I thought he was gonna drag him through glass. I'm like, bro, this is about to get really violent.
Could you imagine if they just did a Saw thing, like James Earl Jones coming in? You can get your lightsaber, but you'll have to cut your hand off. Like something like insane. Like,
let's play a little game, Obi-Wan.
I mean, was it like? Was it bits of carbonite or like what was the material that, because it burned? It was like fast, caught fire.
It's probably fuel, space fuel.
Something.
Some whatever. What's the name of the space fuel now in Star Wars? And they give it a name.
Why was this huge canister of this stuff just sitting there?
Yeah, it was just sitting there waiting to be, just to fall over and everything.
It's the most dangerous element in the entire universe. It was just sitting there, a giant container of it, just sitting there,
just waiting for Vader, to lay down his lightsaber, and that was pretty cool, though.
It was, yeah,
to have him light it up like that.
And I loved a great Vader moment. It reminded me of Empire Strikes Back when he was freezing Han, but that sort of upward shot of the helmet in the flame and everything, and you saw the chain on the robe, and you saw the little vent on the bottom of the chin, and the eyes, just a little bit of glint of the eyes in the helmet. I mean, that was a great Vader shot. Like, editors must have just loved the shit out of that scene, because
this is a pretty big moment. Seriously, I mean, how are you guys feeling? Okay, we're getting Vader already in the 3rd episode, so we're pretty much in the Vader. I mean, should we just call this Vader series towards like the next 3 episodes? I mean, it's only 3 episodes left, so he has to take part of and pretty prominent in the next 3 episodes, I would think. You introduce him here. How are we feeling about this being on a smaller screen than seeing up on the big screen? How are we feeling about that?
Love
I
it.
mean, yeah, I love it.
Give
Yeah,
it
I
to
don't have
me
a problem.
in my veins type of thing,
If this is emblematic of the quality of what we can expect, I think we're in.
Okay.
I mean, with
Damn good.
this
They
being a
hype.
6-episode run, this looks like it's all set up for a season 2. I'm just saying that. I'm sure there'll be an ending to this, but this is based on the reaction alone. I think this is setting up for a season 2.
I want to see more of what happens to. I mean, I want to see the rest of this journey because it seems like like Ben has been hiding and he has none of this connection, none of this affinity for the Force. And by the time we get to, by the time we get to A New Hope, he's using the Force a little bit, right? So there's something, there's something going on, and there's some sort of change that he's going to continue to undergo here, as he, deals with Leia and kind of maybe gets to understand Luke a little bit too, because he doesn't really get to talk to Luke at all. So this works for him in that way. But yeah, like they hyped up Vader's appearance in Rogue One so much, and it was in it a little, and it was really awesome. This is so much more than that. Yeah. It's so much more than what they did in that movie, and it's again a surprise, even though they were very clear that Vader was going to be in this a lot, and then Hayden Christensen was in all the promos, and you have Ewan McGregor, you have Hayden Christensen, and you have James Earl Jones, and you're telling me this is a TV show.
Technically, it's a streaming service, but we're watching it on our televisions. We're watching on all our devices and everything. But what you're basically saying is you're getting movie quality actors,
right.
Into this and everything. So the presence and the feel of it, and like I said, the pace of that, we were talking about like the previous parts, it feels of a movie that we can actually see on the screen, just being divided into like parts until we get to the end there and everything. It doesn't feel like a TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was hoping they'd do something with the pilot that was supposed to get Leia and Kenobi off world. I'm totally off base, but I was hoping for maybe a Lando.
Yeah.
Lando appearance, because what a great pilot, and someone that would probably do this, take the money, and the timeline I feel like could fit there because Lando was a little older than Solo, so there'd be a little bit more of an opportunity there. But I don't know who that was that was dead. Is that anyone of relevance?
I don't think so.
Zach Braff could have played that part too. Give him the work.
I mean, with 3 episodes left, I think they pretty much put their cards down on anybody that's going to show up. I mean, they pretty much got enough story that whatever story they have left is strictly all about Vader and Obi-Wan. Obviously, in this time period, we know he still has a relationship with Ahsoka. We know he has some feelings about what happened with Satine. I don't think they have enough room to address any of that. It's basically just going to come down to him and Vader. Maybe why didn't you see a more elaborate lightsaber battle between the two? Maybe this was just like just a precursor to something just awesome that we'll see come part 6.
Yeah, and we got to see Reva do something too.
Yeah, obviously she's gonna, her redemption arc is coming up soon.
Or is it her end? Is she just?
I think Vader's gonna kill her. That's my. I think she's gonna have redemption, and Vader's gonna cut her off.
To regret it, you won't.
Yeah. I think the brother will probably be the one that survives.
Is the Grand Inquisitor dead? I mean, we see him in Rebels, but
sure.
Yeah, apparently he's out.
So is that a clone we're seeing in Rebels? What is that about? I mean, they can't just ignore that.
Well, there's other Grand Inquisitors. I mean, because the other Grand Inquisitor has like different eye markings and stuff. So yeah, that's
Okay.
a different Grand Inquisitor. It's
Uh,
just Grand Inquisitor is basically like the Grand Master of the Inquisitors, so it's not like a being. I mean, I would say that, and we talked about this last week. I don't see how a Jedi Temple Guard that's essentially a Jedi Knight, just basically a royal elite, gets killed that easy, let alone walk that easy. But you know, I'm not going to nitpick it. I like it. I mean, he's gone.
Call that pacing and time. I mean, they did so much stuff. They didn't
Yeah,
have time for, like, what are you, 10 minutes there? You don't have it. I
yeah.
mean, you got enough time for him to, to surprise us with the cut and this fate. But, if you had to cut anything, I guess that's what I would cut from those,
Right.
because you don't want to cut any of that Leia stuff. That stuff's cool.
Yeah.
so yeah, this is coming down to Obi Wan, Vader, Leia, and Reva. So
Oh yeah, the final. Yeah, they're going to be there at the end. It's going to be part of the finale. They're going to end it, but then they certainly can keep going with it. I mean, there's no reason we don't see season 2 of this. Maybe they're going to incorporate it into some other series that we haven't even thought of yet.
Or just like tell just a different story. Maybe they obviously it's more Obi-Wan stuff, but maybe they like you said, incorporate Organa into like just a whole type of different series or whatever, or I don't
think I think we'll see a teenage Leia series, something like this. Kind of her growing up into being. And I mean, it would be perfect if they led it up to, as we said, that scene on the Death Star, as they're captured and everything. But
Yeah,
I mean,
she's only like 16 or 17 at the beginning of A New Hope. I mean, she's
Yeah.
still young, so
that would be a perfect tie-in.
We should just do it. We should just go to Disney with the
Yeah.
idea, and then we can quit our day jobs, and hey, we created this whole Leia story because no one ever thought of it.
Thank goodness there's nobody else in line.
Right. Forget about Filoni, man. He's not doing it.
We got much better ideas. Give us the money.
He did all right. Oh my goodness.
I mean, keep in mind now. I mean, we still have 5 years from the 50th, and I mean, if you thought we've seen stuff now, I guarantee 50 years of Star Wars is going to be massive. I mean, especially, I'll say that's the one thing with Disney, from their park segment and their movies. When it comes to anniversaries, they don't skip a beat. They don't care about budget. I mean, Disney spends. So I think that 50th year will be something special for Star Wars. I imagine them remastering stuff again, but I mean, there's going to be all kinds of stuff. That's going to be a special year.
The Disney edition. They could remaster all the movies Disney style.
Well, we're aware of that. They try to do the Lando is still on hold. Kathleen Kennedy did say that they can't tie Donald Glover down. He just has so much going on. So they did want to do Lando, but just Donald Glover can't find the time to commit to do that. And that will be kind of in this timeline as well. So Lando was supposed to be part of this, but they just can't get Donald Glover or the actor who plays Solo. He's been starting to take up some work. So those two actors.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah. They wanted to use them more in this stuff, but they've just been busy. So,
if I was an actor, if I was one of them, and Kathleen Kennedy called me and said, "Hey, you remember that role that you did once, Lando Calrissian? You want to do that again?" I'd be like, "Yeah, I'd clear my book."
You would think, but I mean, I guess people got things to do or whatever. So
it's like, I feel like it's almost like when I was a kid, and I'd be like, "Oh man, I want to grow up and play professional football." Why would anybody not want to do that? Like, I just didn't get like what it went into it and what the reaction to it was, right? And I think that if you are gonna do something like let's say portray Ahsoka Tano, just as like an example. I mean, think about how much makeup work that comes to on a daily basis. So you're talking about like a long-term commitment, and if we're talking about now, Leia could show up in a lot of different series, like all of a sudden. And so you really can't have other jobs and do it. So I get it. Like, I get why you wouldn't necessarily want to jump in here. Obviously, if you're already on the train, the die is cast. You can't get off now. You will be portraying, unfortunately, for you, if you want to do it, Luke Skywalker forever, Mark Hamill. And they know that's bad for you, maybe, and great for us here. They get to watch it. So I understand why sometimes people don't want to do it, but we get. I mean, there's people that are showing up. I mean, even I recognize like 30, like every single person that has a speaking role in this, I recognize, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like it's sort of some sort of fly by night enterprise. I mean, Indira Varma plays like she's from Rome and she's been in everything, and she just plays like
Yeah,
this.
she's in everything. So I mean, she's a good actress. I like seeing her in this stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Did
So
we cut you on like the the Ahsoka trailer or whatever? Did we do that on Trent T Mitch?
No.
Okay. Yeah, because that came out of the Star Wars celebration and everything.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't show it to us,
Right.
online. So if you were at the
Yeah.
celebration, you only got, you got to see it. But I heard it was pretty good. You know,
Yeah, that's
at least
another one they've held back. I mean, next year I thought about. I mean, it was too late for me to think about going. Next year it's going back to Europe, so that's a no go for me. So that would bring 2024 back to US. So yeah, next year is going to be a European celebrations. It looks like they've announced.
Hmm.
Yeah, I heard they
Um,
showed like a live action of the painting at the end of Rebels in the trailer.
hmm,
um Demons
We
will
will
not.
not go to Europe.
um,
There is no way.
That is just not
that's
happening.
It's
uh,
just not
that,
happening. You know, it's no.
that's 16 hours. No, I can't do that yet.
It's far too
Japan now. Japan is another story, but
because that's not
Europe,
Europe.
correct. We're going the other way. We're going. I go to Asia.
That's Godzilla.
Correct.
But it seems like they got some pretty decent. I mean, to go off like topic and everything to talk about some other Star Wars stuff. But it seemed like they got some really exciting stuff for the Ahsoka thing that's coming up, like exploring the world between worlds, on the
Yeah.
show. So I'm kind of curious, if they're going to go that route. Are they going to go on to like the multi Star Wars, finally going to like the Star Wars multiverse, like they sort of tease in Rebels?
I
If they're
think they
going to go
will.
that route in a live action, I mean that's some major implications and stuff, right?
But that DP, I told you that's going to be the Great Reset. That's going to change the whole trajectory of Ray. I mean, literally, it is. They've already said it. They've already kind of hinted to it. They're not going to rewrite the stories of 7, 8, 9. It'll be there,
They'll
and
just
they've already said they're
a different universe. Okay.
they'll just spin it off a little bit. You can, obviously.
Of course you can, because that's how reality works. Because reality is one infinitely branching multiverse, and causality and probability are the fifth dimension. We are riding one particular causal wave. That's what we're all on. That's it. That's all there is to it. And that's why when we bust off and say, okay, instead of that happening, this happening, it makes so much sense from a causal perspective, because we inhabit a universe where causality is constantly cleaving reality into a reality where, to borrow from Schrodinger, the cat is both dead and alive. So whatever. I'll embrace a multiverse, and I'll embrace a what if multiverse, where what they're gonna do is like, let's
Yeah.
change this, see what happens for a year, and then
Change it.
Jared's in the
Change it back.
Star Wars Visions back and to give you guys another tidbit as well. They're going to do another season of Star Wars Visions, so that's some more
yes.
content for us to cover. That was pretty. That was really different and nice to see.
That was some different stuff. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was digging that. Yeah. Some pretty good stuff coming out of there. I heard Dave Filoni cried when his like, well, no, I was about to say Sabine Wren, the actress that's going to play Sabine Wren, when she came up on stage and everything. He's seeing his characters come to life. Ahsoka and the potential of Ezra. And Thrawn
He's
and
already
everything.
casted. They're already casted. They wouldn't
It's
say.
gonna
They're already
happen.
casted.
Listen,
Yeah.
Disney means to spend this money and make this money. Disney means to do these two things. In many ways, I will tell you that when we look at the history of Star Wars, the historiography of Star Wars, we will talk about the moment when Disney bought Star Wars off of George Lucas, as analogous to when the Eastern Roman Empire embraced Christianity, and what that did, because it funded it. It funded it.
Yeah.
So now, George Lucas, as an artist and as a creator, has, no obligation to continue to
None.
create, money for anybody. None. And only should make, and as an auteur should only make the things that he wants to make. But Disney is a corporation who does have an obligation to continue to make money for everybody involved. And therefore, will take actions that will cause it to make money. Ipso facto, the content will be produced as long as people are paying for it. And if the numbers are to be believed, they're going to pay for it. So look, make the content. We will keep sending you the money, and that's how it's going to be for the next 10 years or so.
DP actually puts it in an envelope. Puts on the envelope Disney Incorporated, PO Box 1138, San Bernardino, California 95109, whatever it is, and actually sends them $7 every month. Don't you?
Yes, I do.
It's a little less because I watched Ratatouille, and frankly, I don't think a rat should be cooking.
They never send me that penny back, though, man. You know,
They never send it back.
I don't get that penny back. So,
well, you know what? 30
You
years from now, you'll get an entire refund for it, and then you'll be able to retire.
30 years.
30 years. That's all you got to wait.
30 years?
30 years.
30 years.
Oh,
Maybe we'll be on. Maybe we'll get to see the Old Republic within 30 years.
They're gonna run out of
my breath.
ideas. This is the thing. What's great about these infinite realities is they're not going to run out of space to get to. I mean, if you want to start and just do a running chronology of the galaxy until 1 year with an episode, you could start at the founding of the Galactic Republic, and we'll see you in 100 years when you get to the current timeline. So hey, there's space. Why don't you go to Rome and enjoy, do whatever you want. One thing I'll say is that I enjoy the continued commitment to every single episode is an anything can happen episode. You don't know what the focus is going to be. It's not telegraphed, and they're choosing different things. And I think
you have different timelines here and everything, and general. Okay, what this happened here, this happened there, and everything. But from moment to moment, you really don't know what's going to happen. So that's a great thing about this universe, the malleability. The how malleable it is to to still tell a story within the different the different timelines and everything. That's something to be admired.
And no leaks. Like, I don't know, like each episode is like a surprise. Like, there isn't like the information leak out on the internet. They're very good about keeping everything secret until they release it. I mean, I haven't been able to find any information on an episode until I watch it.
So. You haven't talked to T. Mitch too often, then.
Well, he Mr. 3 a.m. I just mute the whole
Mr. 3 a.m. That's his new name now.
Yeah,
Mr. 3 a.m.
I will say though that Cameron Monaghan has not taken up any projects, and Cal Kestis was a survivor of Order 66, so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he is a hot commodity for Disney. They're keeping his character alive. Cal Kestis is a canon character, and he falls right in line with what's going on. So
I'm ready for him. Put him into something. I'm ready to see him on live action.
Let him be the Joker. Be this guy. Let him do whatever.
Oh, yeah, he was great as Joker on Gotham. That was probably the only thing that was great about that show.
Anyway.
But yeah, guys, I mean, another fun episode we wrap up this week, and as we lead into the back half of the series, it's kind of sad that we're on 4 of 6, but I mean, we got a lot to get in. I mean, the fact that they're running these at 42 minutes is great.
Oh, it's gravy.
I forgot that it was even ending. I was like, that was like a movie. When it cut off at the end, I'm like, man. But then I looked at it, I'm like, 40. You look at the clock and you're like, oh my god, it's been like 40 minutes already. It doesn't even feel like it. So.
Like, damn it, directed by Deborah Chow.
Right.
Chow is a 4-letter word to us now.
No, she's doing a great job with this, and really liking it. I'd like to see Bryce Dallas Howard's stuff, because we talked about The Mandalorian. Man, her episodes were all phenomenal. So I'd like to see her property. Maybe she'll do the Ahsoka. I forget who they had on board for that, but
yeah, they got her on board for a couple episodes. So she's going to be back for that.
Yeah, so that'll be great. But guys, as we say, we will see you guys again a week from now as we're going to wrap up episode 4 and hopefully have some more answers for some of these questions we have posed. Is there going to be another Vader sighting, or are we going to go back to Tatooine? So many questions we have to answer. But also, keep in mind, we have the NCFS coming up as well, as we said. The boys will be coming out, and we will have a panel up discussing that. So please, if DP said it 1,000 times, subscribe to us. Please be going on all our different platforms, whether it's, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Podcasts, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on just about every platform. So please subscribe. If you're a YouTuber, smash the like, as they say. Please leave a comment, as we really appreciate them. And until next week, guys, this is Away.
This is the way.
way.